Howdy, my name is Tara, and I hope you're having a terrific day, and if you are not, then this video is about to make your day just a little bit better. It has been over 3 weeks since my last character building guide on Ningguang, so this character building guide is definitely well overdue. Today, I want to share with you all of Razor's best weapons, artifacts, and team compositions. This is actually my first character building guide that I'm including team compositions, so any feedback on that section of this video would be greatly appreciated down in the comments. So now, let's talk about some of Razor's building options. Razor is an Electro Claymore character capable of slashing his way through any enemies. He does massive physical damage with complementary electro damage. His elemental skill, Claw and Thunder, when pressed, will cause Razor to slash forward, dealing electro damage while generating an electro sigil. These electro sigils will increase Razor's energy recharge rate and stack up to 3 times. When Claw and Thunder is held, it will deal AoE electro damage and will convert any electro sigils into energy for Razor. His elemental burst, Lightning Fang, will cause the Wolf Within to attack alongside Razor, dealing electro damage on each normal attack and disables Razor's charge attacks. Razor will also have increased attack speed and resistance to electro damage. Razor is one of, if not the best physical damage carry in Genshin Impact, and with the right build, he will excel. So first, let's talk about some recommended weapons for Razor. Starting out with Rain Slasher, which is the weapon that I am currently using on my Razor personally. Rain Slasher is a 4-star gacha weapon which pairs perfectly with Razor's kit. It has an Elemental Mastery secondary stat and an effect which increases damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Electro by up to 36%. Razor is a character that I often pair with Xingshu and Barbara, which allows him to do consistent electro charge damage on enemies and make use out of that Elemental Mastery secondary stat of Rain Slasher. In addition, when using Razor's Elemental Burst Lightning Fang, it will allow Razor to keep enemies consistently under the Electro status effect. This means that Rain Slasher will almost always be increasing damage done on most enemies. The next recommended weapon is another 4-star weapon, but this time it's going to be a craftable 4-star weapon. Prototype Amethyst, depending on the encounter, will put out very similar damage numbers as Rain Slasher. It has a high base attack with an attack secondary stat and an effect which has a 50% chance on hit to deal an additional up to 480% attack damage to enemies within a small AoE once every 15 seconds. That was a lot of words. This weapon is great because everyone has access to it, and it can reasonably be max refined at later stages of the game. This weapon will also do quite a lot of damage, considering that Razor excels at physical damage, which directly translates to more damage when Prototype Amethyst procs. An early game 3-star weapon option for Razor is that of Skyrider Greatsword, which can be found out in the world inside of chest. It has a physical damage bonus secondary stat and an effect that on hit increases attack by up to 10% for 6 seconds, stacking 4 times. Since Razor is often used as a physical damage carry, this weapon pairs perfectly with that intention in mind. This is a weapon that is worth the cheap investment of resources and opens up resources to flesh out an entire team composition rather than a singular character. You can also easily max refine this weapon very early on in the game. Now, the last 2 weapon options are going to be the 5-star weapons that you can use on Razor. First up, we have Razor's most talked about weapon, which is Wolf's Gravestone. Wolf's Gravestone is a 5-star weapon and can only be gotten from the gacha system, making it mainly a exclusive weapon. The weapon has an attack secondary stat and an effect which increases attack by up to an additional 40%. The effect will also increase the attack of all party members by up to 80% for 12 seconds once every 30 seconds if an enemy below 30% health is hit. Basically, Wolf's Gravestone is just a ton of attack for Razor and for your entire party, and if you have the right team composition that can really utilize that team-wide attack buff effect, this weapon will easily put out the most damage output. The next 5-star weapon option that Razor can fully utilize is that of Skyward Pride, which I believe is kind of underrated. It has a high base attack, an energy recharge secondary stat, and an effect which increases all damage by up to 16%. In addition, on hit, it will create vacuum blades that do up to 160% attack as damage to enemies the longest path for 20 seconds or 8 vacuum blades. Now, while Razor does already have a high energy generation within his kit, the effect of Skyward Pride should not be underestimated. In party compositions that cannot effectively utilize the team-wide attack buff of Wolf's Gravestone, then Skyward Pride Pride can actually edge ahead of Wolf's Gravestone in damage output due to the vacuum blades just doing an insane amount of damage. It is another 5-star weapon option though, so that does mean you have to get lucky within the gacha to get a hold of this weapon. Now that you know which weapon that you want to use, let's talk about some recommended artifact sets for Razor. The best in-slot artifact set for Razor is without a doubt that of Gladiator's Finale. It increases attack by 18% and it increases normal attack damage by 35%. Razor is a normal attack machine when his elemental burst lightning thing is active. And Gladiator's Finale will push a huge amount of additional damage out of those normal attacks and also increases attack by 18% in the process. Gladiator's Finale can be obtained from weekly and world bosses. Now, if you don't yet have the perfect 4-piece Gladiator's Finale set, you can go with the split set option of 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry and 2-piece Gladiator's Finale. 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry will increase physical damage by 25% alongside that 18% attack increase from 2-piece Gladiator's Finale. While a 35% increase in normal attack damage is better than an increase of physical damage by 25%, Bloodstained Chivalry is much easier to farm ideal artifact pieces of. Bloodstained Chivalry can be obtained starting at AR 35 from artifact domain farming. Lastly, a very early game artifact set is that of 2-piece Berserker and any 2-piece set that has plus 18% attack. 2-piece Berserker will give plus 12% crit rate, and there are just so many sets that give plus 18% attack. This set will excel throughout the early and mid game but will fall off later as Berserker pieces cannot exceed 4 stars. Berserker can be farmed from weekly and world bosses. Now the artifact slot main stats are mostly straightforward on Razor. I recommend attack on the Sands artifact slot as Razor is a very damage oriented character and has innate energy recharge within his kit. At Ascension 4, Razor's energy recharge will increase by 30% when his energy is below 50%, and this is just one of the reasons why energy recharge is generally not worth it on Razor. For the Goblet artifact slot, both physical damage bonus and attack percentage can be great options. Electro damage bonus, on the other hand, is not recommended on Razor as his physical damage far surpasses his electro damage, and on his elemental burst, his electro damage scaling is dependent on normal attack damage, which physical damage bonus increases. At Ascension 1 and Constellation 6, Razor will deal additional electro damage. His Ascension 1 passive skill Awakening will reset the cooldown of his elemental skill when his elemental burst is used. And at Constellation 6, Razor's weapon becomes charged with electro every 10 seconds, and on hit will do 100% electro damage. This makes attack percent Goblet more opportunistic on Razor as he becomes more built, as physical damage bonus will not affect his elemental skill damage or that Constellation 6 electro damage proc. For the circlet slot, you're going to want to go for crit damage or crit rate, even though none of the weapon options that I put out possessed a crit damage or crit rate secondary stat. Most often, this does mean that you will go for a crit rate circlet unless you just have insane crit rate substats on your artifact pieces. Now, onto some ideal team compositions for Razor. This is my very first build guide that will include team compositions, as so many people have requested them to be added to my build guides. I do want to note that I only use 4-star characters when playing Genshin Impact, so all of these team compositions will be built from a 4-star foundation. So when it comes to Razor, building teams around survivability during his elemental burst and superconduct to increase his physical damage are necessary to fully utilize his kit. The first team composition we have here is a Electro Resonance composition focused around Razor, Xingqiu, Diona, and Barbara. This team composition will provide you with a high amount of survivability and a medium energy recharge rate. Electro Resonance will increase the healing that your team receives, which is great on a character like Razor when he is locked in to his elemental burst, as he can easily die. Xingqiu will help you further survive by giving you some damage reduction and supportive hydro damage in the process for that electro charge damage. Diona will give you shielding to take some preemptive damage while also enabling you to get superconducts out of your Razor to increase your physical damage output. And lastly, Barbara will give you that aura based healing while giving you a huge healing burst if needed. Some 4-star alterations for this team comp is Diona for Kaya or Barbara for Noelle. If you do switch out Barbara for Noelle, you will lose that Electro Resonance though. A 5-star alteration that you might already be thinking of for this team composition is Diona for Qiqi. Qiqi is just kind of one of the best cryo pairings for Razor, but Diona is a 4-star character, unlike Qiqi. The second team composition we have is an Electro Resonance composition, which will include Razor, Xingqiu, Diona, and Beidou. This is a very similar composition to the first one, but it gives you medium survivability and a high energy recharge comparative to that high survivability and medium recharge of the previous team composition. Electro Resonance will cause any electro elemental reaction to generate electro elemental particles once every 5 seconds. And Beta will work very similarly to Xing Shu in this team composition for that supportive electro damage from her elemental burst. Some 4-star alterations is Diona for Kaya or Beto for Fischl or Lisa. A 5-star alteration is again Diona for Chi-Chi. Now an early game Electro Resonance team composition that everyone can eventually make is that of Razor, Barbara, Kaya, and Lisa. This team does have low survivability and a high energy recharge rate, but it is very easy to get all of these characters, and you can add in those other characters we talked about from the other team compositions if you acquire them later on in the game. I hope this video was sufficient in providing direction in all aspects of building Razor. I include more weapons than previous build guides and team compositions, which were both heavily requested. So please be sure to like and subscribe if you did end up enjoying Razor's character building guide, and let me know down in the comments your thoughts about Razor. You can also head over to my Discord for additional game help, and that link is found in the description. Buh Bye now.